Let's get ready to rumble! Okay, Saturday. Mad Merrigan here for Coldbeer Sports. And let's just touch on the big fight down in Texas tonight. Right. Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, the brilliant Brit. And what an interesting fight it is. Yes, the bookies seem to have it wide apart. But let's try and see, is there a case that can be made that maybe it's a little bit closer than it first seems. I think Canelo Alvarez is as short as 1-6. And Saunders is about 9-2, I think. Excuse me. So let's just break it down for a second a little bit more. So we have Canelo Alvarez, absolute Mexican warrior, brilliant complete fighter, all-around boxer, mover, banger, great head movement, very good at shutting down the ring and closing distance. So definitely one of the elite fighters we've seen for a long time. And yes, he has a few questionable wins on his record, but we won't go into that too much. He had a close fight with 𝗕𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗃 the first time. Arguably, 𝗕𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗃 won that first fight. I think most people would agree with that. But yes, Canelo did enough to get the victory in the rematch. We'll say that in another very close fight. Then he fought the 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, the Cuban southpaw. Yes, a long time ago, but a very slick boxer who gave him lots of trouble, albeit I think that was 6 years ago or however long. So he's definitely a lot more of a complete fighter since. So let's just touch on Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe stepping up to the elite of the elite level, but Billy has looked very good when he's had these fights where people write him off. If Billy goes into a fight that he expects he's going to win, he does put on a flat performance, and he has done that numerous times, but he still always finds a way to stay undefeated and to stay a two-time world champion, you know. So definitely very interesting. And yes, he has the movement to definitely trouble anybody. So I think this fight mightn't just be as wide as the bookies have it. So let's give a few pros for Billy Joe Saunders. So he's amateur pedigree, he's movement going forward and backwards, he's boxing IQ, he can scrap, but he's an intelligent scrapper. He's a natural fighter in the ring. And yeah, he definitely has the movement to trouble Canelo. And Canelo has in the past had a lot of trouble with, he's been frustrated by fighters with movement. And it's been a very long time since he's fought anybody remotely even as good as a mover as Billy Joe Saunders. Yes, Billy has to up his game to another level. But the time Billy travelled to Vancouver to fight David Lemieux, at the time David Lemieux is no Canelo Alvarez, not even close. But he was a world level fighter, not a world elite, but a world level fighter. Definitely, he lost to 𝗕𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗃 before that fight, but he was still known as a bit of a dangerous man and a bit of a banger. And the performance Billy Joe Saunders rose to that night was just a one-sided beatdown. It was very impressive. He frustrated him from the minute. The movement just caught him out. Now, Canelo Alvarez can close off the ring a lot quicker and a lot more consistent than, never mind David Lemieux, than probably any fighter we've watched in the last fucking 20 years. So it definitely, Billy can move and box, yes. It's how long can he do it for? I think Billy can't throw combinations. Look what happened to 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. So I think Billy's going to be looking to pot shot in this fight, looking to pop the jab, move off to the side, come in again, 1-2 at the most, no big combinations, 3 and 4 punches. I think he's going to be looking for sharp 1-2s, get out of there quick, or just a really popping jab and moving and frustrating Canelo. The question is, can Billy keep Canelo off for the 12 rounds? That is the question. I have no doubt his movement can definitely frustrate Canelo for a while. It's just Alvarez has shown in the past, he just seems to get to them. He wears them down. I think losing to Floyd Mayweather years ago when he was only 21 or 22, he really lost, he really learned a lot. You see Canelo as he goes, he gets better. Every single fight, he just learns something new and he adds it to his arsenal, and he comes back and he's just an unbelievable complete fighter. And then he's a warrior. he's 11 to 12 rounds are as strong as anybody else's first round. So it's definitely an interesting fight. Look, it's a tricky one for me. Look, we're 3 in a row for boxing selections. We had Dillian Whyte to win inside 4 in the Predications rematch. Boom, we got it done. We had Jake Paul to knock out Ben Askren. Boom, we had it done. And we had Joe Ward to win in Puerto Rico the last time. So we're definitely doing well. This is one fight though I'm struggling to pick in. But I will say I would throw a little fiver on Billy Joe Saunders to maybe get a close points decision if he could stay on the outside for 12 rounds, only because he's 5-1. I'm not going to tell you to back Canelo Alvarez at 1-6 favourite, but look, Canelo definitely has fought at an elite level. Yes, he's fought lots of fighters, quite possibly on his terms, under his own promotion, but you cannot take away from Canelo. He has took his game to another level. Every fight he always seemed to learn a lot, tidied up any little mistakes he's had. Like his head movement now is unbelievable, and he's very good. But he never fought nobody that fights at the angles Billy Joe Saunders does. Well, definitely not in the last 5 or 6 years. And I just think it poses a new threat. And let's just say this: if Billy Joe Saunders can't beat Canelo, well then there'll be nobody out there to do it, because they've come with the power. They've come, you know, with the punchers and the okay boxers, but this is Billy Joe Saunders is an elite, skilled boxer. There is no doubt in my mind. Billy Joe is more natural than Canelo. It's can he avoid that Mexican warrior for 12 rounds? Possibly he can. He is in the shape of his life, and let's say one thing. Now, in fairness, Canelo, the two of them at the weigh-in are definitely in the shape of their life. But Billy Joe Saunders never showed up to a fight in this shape. And he always came in, got through a little bit, probably like didn't take it serious. And that is it. But he's here, he's took it serious, you can see it. He just looks sharp, and I think he has got into Canelo's head a little bit. They didn't accept the ring. The ring was a big thing, the 18-foot ring they were trying to have, or the 20, whatever it was. But Billy stood tall and they said, no, change the ring or we're not fighting. And Canelo's team wouldn't be used to that kind of pressure and wouldn't be used to people not showing them any respect. And I just thought at the weigh-in, Billy Joe Saunders definitely had Canelo frustrated. And that is definitely one little tick that will help him. Do not forget how good of an amateur Billy Joe was, how good of a natural boxer he is. It is quite possible he has the tools to beat Canelo, but he will have to be at his very, very best to do it. What a fight it is. If the Mexican warrior walks through him and blows him away, well then he is the pound for pound king and probably one of the greatest of all time ever, period. But I can't see him knocking out Billy Joe Saunders. Yes, I can see him hurting Billy at stages, but I think Billy doesn't walk onto shots the way other fighters will, and it's can he stay out of the way in the latter rounds. Now, just before I move on from this, he has looked a little vulnerable, Saunders, later in fights, but he wasn't conditioned then. And although he has been inactive and he only fights like once a year, that is not Billy Joe Saunders' fault. That is his boxing IQ and his skills. The people just don't want to match up with Billy Joe Saunders. But it is good. Yes, he got a fight with Martin Murray. Is not nowhere near the level of a Canelo, but he is a world level fighter and has just failed at world champion attempts. You know, in some close fights, arguably he could have won a world title, but for decisions not to go his way. But it is a good thing that Billy got that work, because that work will stand him in good stead. And he was straight in the gym a couple of weeks after the fight. So it's very interesting. I don't think it's as wide as the bookies are making it. Can Billy Joe stay on the outside and outbox Canelo? Can Canelo shut the ring off, close him down and put him away? It's going to be interesting. Alright, the time for codding is over. Keep following Coldbeer Sports for lots of selections, sports coverage and all the fun stuff. Like and subscribe. Don't be coming on here for the free tips. Make sure and like that and subscribe and share the videos. It helps out the channel, keeps us moving. The time for codding is over.